Hey everybody, welcome back to Simi Valley Paranormal. Today's video is going to be on cryptids. Somebody the other day said something to me about the paranormal and that they only follow the ghosts and the spirits. Technically, the paranormal is anything that cannot be explained by science, so that would include the cryptids, the UFOs, the folk tales and legends, I guess, as you would have it, as well as ghosts and spirits. So we're going to do this one. I might have made this one a little long. It's going to be a two-parter. So I'm just going to do both parts today and break it up. Trying to keep these videos a little shorter than a half hour if I can. Anyway, let's get started. So what is a cryptid? A cryptid is an animal such as Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster that is claimed to exist but has never been proven to exist. Contrary to popular belief, cryptids don't have to be supernatural, mythical, or even all that strange, though many popular creatures acquire these characteristics as their legends grow. Okay, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, is a quote by Carl Sagan. What does that mean exactly? Well, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Just because something has never been done doesn't mean it can't be done. The fact you have never seen or heard something is not proof that it doesn't exist. So let's start out with the famous Bigfoot. So Bigfoot, also commonly referred to as Sasquatch, is a purported ape-like creature said to inhabit the forests of North America, a prominent subject within Canadian and American folklore. The majority of mainstream scientists have historically discounted the existence of Bigfoot, considering it to be the result of a combination of folklore, misidentification, and hoax, rather than a living animal. Other creatures or relatively similar descriptions are alleged to inhabit various regions throughout the world, such as the skunk ape of the southeastern United States, the Almas, Yeren, and Yeti in Asia, the Australian Yowie, all of which, like Bigfoot, are ingrained in the cultures of their regions. According to anthropologist David Dangling, Bigfoot legends existed long before there were a single name for the creature. These stories differed in their details, but regionally and between families in the same community. On the Tule River Indian Reservation of California, petroglyphs at the site called Painted Rock are alleged by some to depict a group of Bigfoots called the Family. The local tribespeople call the largest of the glyphs Hairy Man, and they are estimated to be between 500 and 1,000 years old. The petroglyphs, that is. The most well-known video of the alleged Bigfoot, the Patterson-Gimlin film, was recorded on October 20th, 1967 by Roger Patterson and Robert Bob Gimlin as they explored an area called Bluff Creek in Northern California. The 59.5-second long video has become an iconic piece of Bigfoot lore and continues to be a highly scrutinized, analyzed, and debated subject. Some argue that the film also provided no supportive data of any scientific value, while others believe that the subject in the film is proof that an unrecognized hominoid living in North America. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is a creature in Scottish folklore that is said to inhabit Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It is often described as a large, long-necked, and with one or more humps protruding from the water. Popular interest and belief in the creature has varied since it was brought to worldwide attention in 1933. Evidence of its existence are anecdotal, and several disputed photographs and sonar recordings. The scientific community regards the Loch Ness Monster as a phenomena without biological basis, explaining sightings as hoaxes, wishful thinking, and misidentification of mundane objects. The pseudoscience and subculture of cryptozoology has placed particular emphasis on the creature. In August 1933, the Courier published the account of George Spicer's alleged sighting. Public interest skyrocketed, with countless letters being sent in detailing different sightings describing a monster fish, sea serpent, or dragon, with the final name ultimately settling on Loch Ness Monster. Since the 1940s, the creature has been affectionately called Nessie. In August 9th, the surgeon's photograph is reportedly the first photo of the creature's head and neck. Supposedly taken by Robert Kenneth Wilson, a London gynecologist, it was published in the Daily Mail on 21 April 1934. Wilson's refusal to have his name associated with it led it to become known as the surgeon's photograph. According to Wilson, he was looking at the loch when he saw the monster, grabbed his camera and snapped 4 photos. Only 2 exposures came out clearly. The first reportedly shows a small head and back. The second shows a similar head in a diving position. The first photo became well known, and the second photo attracted little publicity because of its blurriness. For 60 years, the photo was considered evidence of the monster's existence. Although skeptics dismissed it, the photo's scale is controversial. It is often shown cropped, making the creature seem larger and the ripples like waves, while the uncropped shot shows the other end of the loch and the monster in the center. The ripples in the photo were found to fit the size and pattern of small ripples rather than large waves photographed up close. Analysis of the original image fostered future doubt. In 1993, the makers of the Discovery Communications documentary Loch Ness Discovered analyzed the uncropped image and found a white object visible in every version of the photo, implying that it was on the negative. It was believed to be the cause of the ripples, as if the subject were being towed, although the possibility of the blemish on the negative could not be ruled out. An analysis of the full photograph indicated that this object was small, about 2 to 3 feet long. In 1933, it was suggested the creature bears a striking resemblance to the supposedly extinct plesiosaur, a long-necked aquatic reptile, a popular explanation at the time. Other explanations are bird wakes, eels, elephants, Greenland shark, whales, catfish, and any number of other things. Then we have the Lake Champlain monster called Champ. In American folklore, Champ is the name of a monster said to live in Lake Champlain, a 125-mile-long body of fresh water shared by New York and Vermont, with a portion extending into Quebec, Canada. In 1819, report in the Pittsburgh Republican entitled Cape Ann Serpent on Lake Champlain reports a Captain Crumb citing an enormous serpent monster. Crumb estimated the monster to have been about 187 feet long and approximately 200 yards away from him. Despite the great distance, he claimed to have witnessed it being followed by 2 large sturgeons and a billfish, and was able to see that it had 3 teeth and the eyes the color of peeled onions. He also described the monster as having a belt of red around its neck and a white star on its forehead. In 1977, Sandra Manis took a photograph while on vacation with her family that apparently shows something sticking out of the lake. The entire bay of the lake where the photograph reportedly was taken is no deeper than 14 feet. According to Joan Nickel, it is unlikely that a giant creature could swim, let alone hide in such shallow water. It has been suggested that the object in the photograph could possibly be a rising tree trunk or log. Champ reportedly can be seen in video taken by fisherman Dick Affolter and his stepson Pete Baudet in the summer of 2005. Close examination of the images may be interpreted either as the head and neck of a plesiosaur-like animal, or even an open mouth in one frame and a closed mouth in another, or as a fish or eel. Although 2 retired FBI forensic image analysts who reviewed the tape said it appears authentic and unmanipulated, one said that there's no place in there that I can actually see an animal or any other object on the surface. One piece of evidence, though not a sighting per se, is the recording of sounds from within the lake by the Fauna Communications Research Institute in 2003, working as part of Discovery Channel program. The program described the sounds as being like those produced by beluga whales or dolphins, neither of which are known to live in the lake. An article describing the recordings has been published in scientific literature. Based upon appearance and mysterious alligator-like tracks found near Lake Champlain, cryptozoologists Kathy Elizabeth and Dennis Hall suggested in 2016 that Champ could be a member of the crocodile family. Researcher Scott Mardis explained that the tracks were likely the tracks of a large snapping turtle and mentions the long-nosed gar or the lake sturgeon as more probable candidates for Champ. Okay, Mokele Mbambi. In cryptozoology, the Mokele Mbambi is a Lingala for one who stops the flow of rivers. In a water-dwelling entity that supposedly lives in the Congo River basin, sometimes described as a living creature, sometimes as a spirit. And those that heard or that allegedly saw the creature described it as a large quadrupedal herbivore with a smooth skin, long neck, and a single tooth, sometimes said to be a horn. In early to mid-20th century, the entity would become the point of focus for pseudoscience of cryptozoology and early Earth creationism, resulting in numerous expeditions led by cryptozoologists and funded by young Earth creationists and other groups with the objective of finding evidence that invalidates or contradicts the scientific consensus regarding evolution. Paleontologist Daniel Prothero remarks that the quest for Mokele Mbambi is part of the effort by creationists to overthrow the theory of evolution and teaching of science by any means possible. Additionally, Prothero observes that the only people looking for Mokele Mbambi are creationists, ministers, and not wildlife biologists. The first descriptions of the creature as an Apatosaurus-like creature was in 1909 in Beasts and Men, the autobiography of famed big game hunter Carl Hagenbeck. He claimed to have heard from two independent sources about a creature living north of Rhodesia, which was described to them as a native as half elephant and half dragon. Naturalist Joseph Mangus had also told Hagenbeck about similar stories. Hagenbeck speculated that it can only be some kind of dinosaur seemingly akin to the Brontosaurus. Another of Hagenbeck's sources, Hans Schrombert, asserted that while at Lake Bangweulu he noted a lack of hippopotami, his native guides informed him that a large hippo-killing creature that lived in the lake. However, Schrombach thought the native testimony was somewhat unreliable. In 2001, BBC broadcast in the TV series Congo a collective interview with a group of Bayaka pygmies who identified the creature as rhinoceros while looking at illustrated manuals of wildlife. Neither species of African rhinoceros are common in the Congo basin, and the creature may be a mixture of mythology and folk memory from the time when rhinoceroses were found in the area. In 2016, a travel documentary crew from South Africa made a documentary about searching for the creature, which they later sold to Discovery Africa. The team spent roughly 4 weeks in the Lukuala swamp region visiting various Aka villages, collecting stories of the creature's existence. They point out the difficulty of differentiating between the creature's metaphysical and physical existence. They interviewed people who had believed in its presence. Others stated it died at least a decade ago. The creature's existence has been highly questioned since its publication. The lack of physical evidence and the conflicting witnesses have made the existence of the entity doubted by most scientists and historians. The most reasonable and agreed upon explanation is that the creature is a legend based on the black rhinoceros, a species once common in Central Africa, where the stories of the creature originated. The absence of the evidence, despite several centuries of Western contact with the region, numerous expeditions in search of the animal, and periodic aerial and satellite surveillance, all of which have detected elephants and other large mammals, but no sauropods, all argue against the existence of the creature. As you see here, you see the similarities between the three so-called monsters. My thought on this is fairly simple, is you can't have a Loch Ness monster from the 1800s into now, as, you know, it would have to live over 100 years. It would have to have multiples. You know, there'd have to be at least a male and a female to start with, and then, you know, procreate, obviously, in order for that legend to continue. Though it does continue. How much of it's just for publicity, I do not know. Mothman. In West Virginia folklore, the Mothman is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. The first newspaper report was published in the Point Pleasant Register, dated 16 November 1966, titled "Couple Sees Man-Sized Bird Creature Something." On November 15th, 1966, two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Searberry and Steve and Mary Millette, told police that they saw large gray creatures whose eyes glowed red when the car's headlights picked it up. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings. Following their car while they were driving in the area outside of a town known as the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munition plant. The national press soon picked up on the reports and helped spread the story across the United States. Following the December 15, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the deaths of 46 people, the incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sighting to the bridge collapse. The Mothman was introduced to a wider audience by Gary Barker in 1970 and later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were supernatural events related to the sightings in connection with the collapse of the Silver Bridge. According to the Georgetown News, a Georgian newspaper in Russia, Russian ufologists claim that the Mothman sightings in Moscow foreshadowed a 1999 Russian apartment bombing. In 2016, WCHS-TV published a photo purportedly to be the Mothman taken by an anonymous man while driving on Route 2 in Mason County. Science writer Sharon Hill proposed that the photo showed a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or snake away, and wrote that there is zero reason to suspect it is the Mothman as described in legend. There are too many far more reasonable explanations. Some pseudoscience adherents, such as ufologists, paranormal authors, and cryptozoologists, claim the Mothman was an alien, a supernatural manifestation, or a previously unknown species of animal. In his 1975 book, Keel claimed that the Point Pleasant residents experienced precognition, including premonitions of the collapse of the Silver Bridge, UFO sightings, and visits from inhuman or threatening men in black and other phenomena. Jersey Devil. In the southern New Jersey and Philadelphia folklore of the United States, the Jersey Devil, also known as Leeds Devil, is a legendary creature said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of South Jersey. The creature is often described as a flying biped with hooves, but there are many variations. The common description is that of bipedal kangaroo-like, or a creature with a horse or goat-like head, leathery like bat wings, horns, small arms, and clawed hands, legs with cloven hooves, and a forked tail. It has been reported to move quickly and is often described as emitting a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. According to the popular folklore, the Jersey Devil originated in the Pine Barren with a Pine Barren resident named Jane Leeds, known as Mother Leeds. The legend states that Mother Leeds had 12 children, and after finding out that she was pregnant for the 13th time, cursed the child in frustration, crying that the child would be the devil. In 1735, Mother Leeds was in labor on a stormy night while her friends gathered around here. Born on a normal As a normal child, the 13th child changed to a creature with hooves, goat head, and bat wings, and a forked tail. Growling and screaming, the child beat everyone with its tail before flying up the chimney and heading into the pines. In some variations of the tale, Mother Leeds was supposedly a witch, and the child's father was the devil himself. Some versions of the legend also state that there was a subsequent attempt by local clergymen to exorcise the creature from the Pine Barrens. Skeptics believe the Jersey Devil is nothing more than a creative manifestation upon the imaginations of the early English settlers. Plausible natural explanations include boogeymen, stories created and told by bored Pine Barren residents as a form of children's entertainment, the byproduct of a historical local disdain for the Leeds family, the misidentification of known animals, and rumored based on common negative perceptions of the local rural population of the Pine Barrens known as Pineys. The frightening reputation of the Pine Barrens may indeed have contributed to the Jersey Devil legend. Historically, the Pine Barrens was considered inhospitable land. Gangs of highwaymen, such as the politically disdained Loyalist brigades known as the Pine Robbers, were known to rob and attack travelers passing through the Barrens. During the 1700s and 1800s, residents of the isolated Pine Barrens were deemed the dregs of society and outcasts. Poor farmers, fugitives, brigands, Native Americans, poachers, moonshiners, runaway slaves, and deserting soldiers. Chupacabra. Chupacabra literally means goat sucker, from the Spanish chupra, to suck, and cabra for goats. It is a legendary creature in the folklore parts of the Americas, which its first purported sightings reported in Puerto Rico in 1995. The name comes from the animal's purported vampirism. The chupacabra is said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats. Physical descriptions of the creature vary, some describing it as more dog-like, particularly in the southwestern United States, while most others describe it as a reptile or alien-like in Puerto Rico and Latin America. Some report it to be a heavy creature the size of a small bear with rows of spines reaching from its neck to the base of its tail. Sightings have been reported in Puerto Rico since the 1970s, and this creature has since been reported as far north as Maine, as far south as Chile, and even outside the Americas in countries like Russia and the Philippines. All reports are anecdotal and have been disregarded as uncorroborated or lacking evidence. Sightings in northern Mexico and the southern United States have been verified as canids afflicted by mange. According to biologists and wildlife management officials, the chupacabra is an urban legend. A 5-year investigation by Benjamin Radford, documented in his 2011 book, Tracking the Chupacabra, concludes that the description given by the original eyewitness in Puerto Rico, Madeline Tolentino, was based on the creature Syl from the 1995 science fiction horror film Species. The alien creature Syl is nearly identical to Tolentino's chupacabra eyewitness account, and she had seen the movie before her report. It was a creature that looked like the chupacabra with spines on its back and all. The resemblance of the chupacabra was really impressive, Tolentino reported. Radford revealed that Tolentino believed that the creature and events she saw in Species were happening in reality in Puerto Rico at the time, and therefore concludes that the most important chupacabra description cannot be trusted. This, Radford believes, seriously undermines the credibility of the chupacabra as a real animal. In addition to the reports of blood sucking by the chupacabra, has never been confirmed by reporters. The only way to conclude that an animal was drained of blood, an analysis by a veterinarian of 300 victims concluded the chupacabra found that they had not been bled dry. The Lizard Man of Scap or Swamp. In the folktale Folklore of Lee County, South Carolina. The lizard man of Scapbour Swamp, also known as the lizard man of Lee County, is an entity said to inhabit the swampland of the region. First mentioned in the late 1980s, the purported sightings and damage attributed to the creature yielded a significant amount of newspaper, radio, and television publicity. Professor of Religious Studies John P. Laycock described the media frenzy and subsequent cult appreciation for this and other similar sightings, claiming as following the predictable chain of events: a strange sighting, media attention, more sightings, followed by visits from curious tourists and monster hunters. Researcher Ben Radford states that this is a compelling story, but several important aspects wither under skeptical scrutiny. The creature is described as green, wet-like, and about 7 feet tall, with 3 fingers, red eyes, skin, and a lizard snake-like scales. Michigan Dogman. In Michigan folklore, the Michigan Dogman was allegedly witnessed in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan. The creature is described as 7 foot tall, blue-eyed and amber-eyed, bipedal canine-like animal with the torso of a man and the fearsome howl that sounds like human scream. According to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7. So we got about 6 years coming up before he shows again. Sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan, primarily in the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula. This creature was unknown to most of the modern world until very late in the 20th century. It is said to have been stalking the area around the Manatee River since the days when Ottawa tribes lived there. Authentic sources of sightings prior to 1987, however, have never been documented. The first alleged encounter of the Michigan Dogman occurred in 1887 in Wexford County when 2 lumberjacks saw a creature which they described as having a man's body and a dog's head. In 1937, in Paris, Michigan, Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs that said to have one of the 5 walked on 2 legs. Reports of the similar creature also came from Allegheny County in the 1950s and the Manatee and Cross Village in 1967. Linda S. Godfrey, in her book The Beast of Bray Road, compares the manatee sightings to the popular creature sighted in Wisconsin known as the Beast of Bray Road. Okay, so you leave a comment down below and let us know what you think about some of those stories. If you've had any experiences with any of them. Personally, I have not, but it would be fun. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share us with your friends so we can get this out there more. And I'll see you next week with another Simi Valley Paranormal story. Have a good weekend. Bye.